So the last thing that we have to do then is we have to talk about dividing. So just like with multiplying, insides with insides, outsides with outsides, same thing with dividing, right? We can divide our insides with our insides, or we can divide outsides with outsides. So the first thing that I always look for is pretend if I have both inside, right, or both outside, pretend that radical is not there, and could I simplify the fraction, right? 3/18, I can simplify that. What I would do is divide both of them by 3. You always want to do that with radicals as well. Just make sure that you're doing insides with insides, right? And outsides with outsides. And outsides with outsides. So since I don't have anything outside here, I'm just looking at the insides, but I can still do the same thing. I can say divide by 3 on both of them. Just remember, insides with insides, it stays inside, right? So this will become the square root of 1 over the square root of 6. All right. Now, the next thing that I would do is I would look for any perfect squares. The square root of 1 is one of those that hides in plain sight, right? What is the square root of 1? What times itself equals 1? Well, it's 1, right? So this would equal 1 over radical 6. Okay. Now you might think that we're done, but hopefully some warning bells are going off that you are remembering something from last year, and that is that you can never leave a radical on the bottom of the fraction. Never leave a radical on the bottom, right? In order to clear that radical, you need to multiply the top and bottom by that radical. Okay, what I mean is I can't square it because that would change the value of my fraction. Instead, if I multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing, that's like multiplying by 1, right? Radical 6 over radical 6 is 1. So I can multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing, and what I want to multiply by is that radical on the bottom, right? So if I really think about this, okay, the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 down here at the bottom, this is going to become the square root of 36. What is the square root of 36? The square root of 36 is 6. So on the bottom, I'm going to get 6. Now remember, multiplying a radical times itself. Square root of 6 times the square root of 6. It's like squaring a square root, right? The radical is going to cancel out. So you don't have to show this step that I just put underneath. If you are good knowing that a radical by itself equals just the number inside, you don't have to show that square root of 36 step. If that is something that you have a hard time with and you just like to think inside times inside and then simplify, perfectly fine and show that square root of 36 step, right? Whatever works for you is fine. Okay, on the top, 1 times radical 6 is just radical 6. So this is what we'd want our answer to look like. Never have a radical on the bottom. Clear that radical by multiplying the top and the bottom by that radical on the bottom, and that will clear it out. Just remember outsides times outsides, insides with insides.